United. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying. Hopefully, you guys are tapping in, not enjoying. What am I fucking saying? But hopefully, you're tapping in. What's up with all my gente out there? I'm gonna wait for some people to get on for I can start talking about what I wanted to talk about today, and we'll get this live feed cracking. How's everybody doing? It's Jose, live with Jay, number 49. We're at the 49th episode already. I started live with Jay last year, and about a year ago now, and it's been going strong for about a year. So press that like button if you guys are joining in. You know what I mean? Press the like. Tap in. We're gonna talk about some cool stuff today. Subscribe 64th and East 17th. That's good. In the 60s. But tap in. We're gonna talk about some interesting subject I want to talk about, especially to those of you who are out there who are Mexican or Chicano or Central American. Something to think about. I was watching a video by Gunner that he made recently. I think he made about a week ago. And those of you who know Menudo Man, hey, puro Menudo Holmes from Merced, California, Gunner's Collective. I was watching one of his videos recently, and he was talking about Native Americans or indigenous people who have been locked up in the pen and how they ride. And it got me thinking about certain things because he says something in that video that kind of caught my attention and something I've been thinking about lately. He said that basically that us as Mexicans or Chicanos or Raza, we come from Native Americans. They don't come from us. And it's true. We do originate from that group of people for sure. And I want to talk about the different concepts of what that means. And this is a big shout out to Gunners Collective, also to Raza Stand Podcast, who also made a video about this as well. I didn't even know they made a video about this. They told me and I watched it today and it was pretty interesting. So check out Raza Stand Podcast, Gunners Collective out there. Whether you agree with them or not, there's always interesting topics out there, conversations. If you're joining in, press the like button. So I got a question for you guys now that there's more people coming on. If you're Mexican or Salvadorian or any type of Latino, whether it be Puerto Rican, Nicaraguense, Colombian, Peruvian, whatever you want to call it, what do you consider yourself as race? What race are you? And obviously, a lot of people are going to say Mexican or Salvadorian or whatever they might be. But the reality is, Mexican, Salvadorian is a nationality, not a race. You know what I mean? So what are you? Are you white? Are you black? Are you Asian? Are you Native American? What are you? Are you mixed? That's a question that I want to pose to you guys because I want to talk about what it means to be indigenous and Native American and what that means as far as for us Chicanos and Raza. You know what I mean? And what does it mean to be Spanish or Spaniard or European? You know what I mean? And I kind of want to talk about those different layers because we usually talk about Mexican, Chicano, and that's basically what we see ourselves as. You know what I mean? But there are the people that push the indigenous thing. The indigenous were Aztecs, were the danzantes, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? There's also the people that consider themselves reconnecting Native Americans or reconnecting indigenous people. And those are the people who go out of their way to reconnect with their indigenous ancestry. And press that like button if you guys are joining. Please support. And, but yeah, man, I'm indigenous people all day, for sure. So I want to talk about what that means because I guess I could consider myself, in a way, a reconnecting indigenous person. But it would be unfair for me to really say that I'm straight up indigenous for various reasons. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean that I'm ashamed to be indigenous or that I'm pro-Spanish. Nah, it doesn't mean nothing like that. You know what I mean? What it means is the way I grew up, the culture I grew up in. See, the question is, we say indigenous, we say native, we say indígena, but what does that mean to you? Does it mean that's your race? Does it mean that that's the culture you grew up in? What does that mean to you? Because I grew up, obviously, with indigenous cultures. Look at the Mexican flag. The serpent killing the eagle killing the serpent. it goes back to the Aztec times. You know, our flag, you know, our food, you know what I mean, is Mexican, at least Mexican food. You know, a lot of it has native or Aztec or indigenous influences, especially with corn. You know what I mean? What's up, Kelly Savalas? What's good, y'all? What's up, Esepeda? Press that like button if you guys are joining in. But we're talking about what does it mean to be indigenous and what race are you? If you're a Chicano, if you're Mexican, are you indigenous? Are you white? Are you black? Or are you Asian? What are you? You know what I mean? Are you mixed? Are you mestizo? Are you mulatto? What are you? A sambo? You know, sambo means that you're black and indigenous. And I'll tell you how that all that came to be. You know what I mean? But I think our food, especially Mexican food, corn-based food, came from the Aztecs and from the native cultures in Mexico. You know what I mean? And you know, a lot of times we forget that Mexico is part of North America. Exactly. We are part of the original people, a part of us for sure. But me personally, I'm gonna talk about me for a minute and how I identify. See, I don't say I'm straight up indigenous because it would be unfair for me to say that. You know what I mean? Because I'm mixed. And I didn't grow up in a straight up indigenous culture. At least me. What's up, Chicano Lifter? Hey, you're going to like today's subject, bro. We're talking about something right up your alley about what it means to be indigenous, what it means to be Spaniard, what it means to be mestizo. What are we? You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about today. Something kind of deep, a little different than what I usually talk about. But like I was saying, yeah, pozole was definitely made from the Aztecs. Like I was saying, me personally, I can't say that I'm straight up indigena because I didn't grow up straight up indigena. I didn't grow up talking Nahuatl. I didn't, and even my family, even if I was indigenous, my family technically wouldn't be from the Aztec or would speak Nahuatl. My family would have been from Michoacan. They would have spoke Purepecha or Tarascan, whatever you want to call them. And that would have been their culture. And the Purépechas, according to what I read, didn't like the Aztecs or the Nahuatl people. And there was a friction there. You know what I mean? So that's, you know, if I were to grow up indigenous, that's what I would have been. You know what I mean? But I didn't grow up indigenous. I didn't grow up in an indigenous culture 100%. It's not to say that there weren't indigenous elements in my culture, because I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is I didn't grow up fully indigenous, because obviously through colonization, through the Spanish coming to Mexico, I grew up, you know, speaking two colonial languages. I spoke English, which is a language from England. I spoke Spanish, which is a European language from Spain, from the Iberian Peninsula. And I grew up Catholic. You know, I was Catholic growing, even though today I'm not very religious, but I grew up Catholic. I went to the Catholic Church. We prayed to La Virgen de Guadalupe and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Even though some might say the Virgen de Guadalupe is really Donatzin, which was a a goddess or some kind of deity from the Aztec times. I'm not 100% on the whole history of that. You know what I mean? Others say that the Virgen was something created by the Spaniards to get the indigenous people to become Catholic. But I grew up more or less in a mixed culture of indigenous and even Spanish and Catholic culture. And that's what makes up a lot of the modern day Mexican culture. But Mexican history is very complex if you don't know it. And so is most of Central America and South America's history. You know, I think when the Spaniards first landed, obviously they came in contact with the Nahuatl people, the Aztec people that we call Aztecs today. You know, you had the whole colonizing thing with Hernan Cortez. But Hernan Cortez and a lot of the colonizers that came into Mexico figured out that a lot of tribes didn't get along, and they used those tribes to fight each other. You know what I mean? Like I said, the Tarascan or the Purepecha people, they, you know, didn't get along with the Aztecs, and various other tribes that didn't like the Aztecs. So there was a conflict there, and that was the way they were able to divide and conquer the people. You know what I mean? But after that, you know, it became a society of a lot of different things in Mexico. You know what I mean? During the colonization, you know, Europeans came to Mexico. Europeans were brought to Mexico. especially Spaniards, Jewish as well. A lot of Spanish Jews, Sephardic Jews as they're called. You had also people that came from other parts of Europe, like Italy. Germans, Irish, Polish, even Russians. People don't talk about that. You had blacks that were brought to Mexico, which is not talked about a lot. You know what I mean? They brought a lot of people from West Africa to Mexico. And what happened was the Spanish really pushed a mestizo or a mixed society. You know what I mean? And basically what started, real natives are blacks. That's a debate, but I'm not going to have that debate right now. What I'm talking about is basically the history of native people and the how everything became connected to some degree. The Spaniards had a weird way of colonizing people. They were basically horny motherfuckers that wanted to fuck everything in their sight. Let's keep it real, bro. The Spaniards didn't bring a lot of women with them, so all they had really to mess around with were indigenous people or black people or maybe some Spanish women that came. And that's why in many in the culture of Mexico, it became a mixed culture. Now, some might say that happened to rape. I'm pretty sure a lot of it did happen to rape, but you got to understand, it wasn't all to rape. During time, once everything started be changing, you know, they created a weird caste system in Mexico. And, I think criollos were the ones on the top of the, well, no, not criollos, peninsulares. I think, hey, Chicano Lifter, you might know, help me. Who were the top of the food chain? It was the peninsulares, right? They were the top of the food chain. They were like the Spaniards from Spain, the Europeans, basically, and basically they were the top of the food chain. The criollos were basically the full-blooded Spaniards, who were born and raised in Mexico. You know what I mean? And they were kind of a little bit on the bottom. Then from there you had the mestizos, which were the mixed people. I guess you could say some of us. You know what I mean? The people that were half Spanish, half indigenous. You know what I mean? And you also had the mulattoes, which were the people that were part black and part Spanish. You had the ones that were called sambos. They were the ones that were part indigenous and part black. And then you even had some Asian people because they brought Filipinos to Mexico from the Philippines. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't know that because there was something called the Acapulco Magellan Straits. And basically the Spaniards set out to how can I say, the Spaniards set out to the Philippines and invaded the Philippines. And one of the reasons they were trying to invade the Philippines was because they were trying to prevent the Muslims from invading the Philippines. That's not talked about, you know what I mean? But indigenous people were indigenous people. They weren't black, they weren't African. Indigenous people were indigenous to this land, man. So that's, like I said, that's a debate I'm not going to have. I keep seeing someone trolling on here. But that's besides the point. The thing is, the Philippines Mexico Magellan trade, exactly. So Mexico became a very mixed society through that, and obviously in Mexico the Spanish colonization was a little different than the way it was done in England or the English or the British were doing it. You know what I mean? And basically, I'm not gonna say under the Spanish it was perfect, but it was a little different than it was with the British or the English or even the French. Those motherfuckers were harsh. You know what I mean? And yeah, there was a lot of race mixing. No matter how you look at it, you know what I mean. Mexico became a product of a mixed society with European, with indigenous, with black as well, African, and you also had Asian as well, and you had the indigenous people who had been there. Now, if the indigenous people came from Australia or came from Siberia through the whatchamacallit, the Bering Strait, that's a whole nother thing. You know what I mean? But basically we became a product of a mixed culture. You know what I mean? And through Mexico, through the colonization, it became a mixed culture. And the Catholic Church played a big part in that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. What I'm saying is a lot of us either became very mixed or we became disconnected from that ancient indigenous culture. You know what I mean? And yes, there was some Middle Eastern and Gypsy influences as well, because you got to remember, Spain was ruled by the Moors for 500 years or 700 years, and there was also a lot of Gypsies and a lot of Sephardic Jews in Spain. You know, because Spain's history is kind of complex too, because I've looked into it a little bit. And even the Spaniards, many people don't know, Spaniards are all different. They're not one group of people. You know what I mean? You have Andaluces, you have Gallegos, you had what are the other ones called? Castellanos. You have Basque people. You have Catalanes. You know, so you have Gypsies. You have Sephardic Jews. So even Spain's fucking history is kind of complex. So it's interesting. You know what I mean? Lots of Lebanese. Yeah, a lot of Lebanese came to Mexico. A lot of Jews came to El Salvador. That is true. A lot of what you call it, como se llama, a lot of Palestinians came to El Salvador. I can tell you that through being part Salvadorian. So what does that mean? That's the question I pose. What does it mean to be indigenous? You know what I mean? What does it mean to proclaim yourself indigenous? Does it mean that's your race? Does it mean that's what you identify as? What does that mean? You know what I mean? What race are you? If you are, Latino, Chicano, whatever you want to call it. Mestizo became the majority at the end of the Pine Empire. For international, I thought that was La Raza. I see some people. Oh yeah, that's true. Tony Saca, he is the president of El Salvador. Is Palestinian. For those of you who don't know, somebody said I'm European. See, the thing is, this is how I look at us. This is how I look at me. I'm too indigenous for the Spaniards, and I'm too Spanish for the indigenous. Unfortunately, you know what I mean. And I've been told that before. Like I've gone to powwows, I've gone to Native American reunions, and that's the way they look at me. They don't look at me as one of them. They look at me as this beaner, even though we are all native peoples. Even though Mexico is part of North America. And if you ever notice, whenever Native Americans talk about indigenous issues, they only talk about Mexico, and they only talk about, they only talk about the U.S., and they only talk about Canada or Alaska. But when it comes to Mexico, which is also part of North America, never mentioned, never talked about. You feel me? And that's just how it is. You know what I mean? Even though we're all kind of related to some way, we're all, you know what I mean? We're related, but we're not related. You know what I mean? But there's a big disconnect, and a lot of that has to do with the border. A lot of that has to do that one side was colonized by the Anglos and one side was colonized by the Spaniards. It plays a big part. You know what I mean? And they're not that different, bro. Someone said North American tribes are different. They're not that different, bro. They're not that different. You know, because look at the Apaches, look at the Navajos, look at the Yaquis. You find them on both sides of the border. The Tarahumaras and all the tribes from the northern part. You'll find them in Arizona. You'll find them in Texas. You'll find them in Mexico, even in Califas. And you find them in Mexico, in Sonora, and Chihuahua, and a lot of those states that are on the border. So we're not that different, bro. We're not that different. You know, the only thing to me was that the Mexicanos, or at least the tribes from the south, architecturally were different. You know what I mean? They were building pyramids and cities and all these great structures, bro, that you didn't really see as much out here. Exactly, the pipil there, and I'll talk about that in a minute, about the pipil. But I am half Salvadorian, and yeah, they didn't have the big temples. I mean, I heard that there were some temples. Like, I know the Pueblo Indians had cities, kind of, like on mountains. I know that there was some indigenous tribe in St. Louis, Missouri area, where they had kind of like temples, kind of like little mounds. You know what I mean? But Yeah, I'm part Salvadorian, and the Salvadorian indigenous history is complex too because El Salvador was in the Mayan world basically. You know what I mean? It was in the Mayan world, but El Salvador had a tribe called the Pipil, which spoke Nahuatl, and Nahuatl is one of the languages that originates from Mexico. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the Pipil was one of the tribes, but you had the Lenca tribe. That was another tribe that was in El Salvador and in Honduras, and they spoke Lenca, and they were related. According to what I read, they were partly related to the Mayans, and they were related to a Colombian tribe called the Chibcha tribe from Colombia. I don't know how that happened, but obviously people were trading and traveling. So yeah, we were related to the to a tribe from Colombia, and basically El Salvador also had a lot of they had Mayans too in certain parts, the areas that were closer to Guatemala. I think they were called Chorti Mayas, and you have Mayan ruins in El Salvador called Tazumal. You know what I mean? And Tazumal is a big time Mayan word. All those Uchmal, Tazumal, and those names are they're similar. Navajos look Mexican. Yucatecos look less Mexican, even though they are Mexican. You know what, bro? Chicano lifter. I've seen pictures of the Alonis, bro, and I swear to God, they look like Mayas from Yucatan, bro. I shit you not, bro. I've seen old drawings of the Alonis. Unless they were exaggerated drawings, they they look similar. The Colombians moved to Zacatecas. You have your facts on point, brother. Yeah, bro. I mean, I know because I'm half Salvadorian, but in El Salvador, there was a massacre, an indigenous massacre. Uh, there was a few. There was one dude named Anastasio Aquino, and he fought against the Spaniards in the 1800s. And then you had Farabundo Martí, and they fought against Farabundo Martí, and the Pipiles fought against the Salvadorian government in 1932, and there was a massacre called La Matanza, where they destroyed most of the indigenous way of life in Colombia. And this was, I mean, in El Salvador, and this was in the 20th century. You know what I mean? This was in the fucking 20th century. And the president that did it was Maximiliano Martinez, who looked like a motherfucking indigenous person. You feel me? He wasn't Spanish looking whatsoever. That's got más indio que yo. You feel me? Like we say. You know what I mean? But look at me, bro. I mean, I don't know. Do I look full indigenous to you or do I look mixed? That's the way I look at it. What am I? Am I indigenous? Am I Spanish? Am I European? Am I Asian? Am I black? What am I? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm tan skinned, but at the same time, I'm light skinned too. I have a wide nose. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't see. I met a lot of Spaniards before, and I don't see too much of me in them. I was actually just talking to a Spanish chick not too long ago, and she just looked like a straight white girl to me. I didn't see nothing raza about her. To me, she just looked like a white girl. And no offense to if there's anyone from Spain on here, but that's just what she looked like to me. But you see, the thing is, I'm not on some I hate Spain thing. I'm not. I don't really have a problem with people from Spain, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't like what their ancestors did in the past. You know what I mean? The colonization. You know. Hey, what's up, Armando Reyes? We're talking about what it means to be indigenous in the Latino world. You know what I mean? And why is there a disconnect between indigenous people in North America and Mexico? How do you feel about Los Altos de Jalisco? Is that the place where everyone's light skinned? I mean, like Jalisco, there are places in Mexico where a lot of Europeans came. Again, people, I gotta remind people, Mexico had a lot of Europeans that came to it. A lot of Italians, a lot of Polish people, German people, Irish people, even Russians, and obviously the Spaniards are Iberian Peninsula people. So, that's why there's and they came to certain regions. That's why there are certain places in Mexico where you find more white looking people than mestizos or indigenous people. Like Look at Michoacan, Lombardia, Nueva Italia. Those places were founded by Italians. Look at Chipilio in Puebla. Look it up. That's a town where they still speak an Italian dialect. I think it's called Veneto. They still speak it to this day. You know what I mean? Look at the San Patricios, who were Irish who fought against the U.S. for Mexico in the 1800s during the war. So you know what I mean? We are a mixed people of all kinds of nationalities. I mean, I've seen some of the DNA tests people get on Facebook, on YouTube that are Mexican. And, you know, a lot of them usually are either very Spanish or very indigenous or both. But then you'll find some where they have African in them and they have Italian in them and they have Portuguese in them and they'll have other nationalities in them as well. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, what does it mean to you to be indigenous? You know what I mean? Like me personally, I understand that the indigenous is part of me. You know what I mean? And the European is part of me as well. You know what I mean? And I think even possibly the African might be part of me. You know what I mean? And exactly, Veracruz. A lot of people don't know that. African slaves were brought to Veracruz. They were brought to Guerrero, Oaxaca, even Mexico City. And to this day, you'll still find Afro features in those states. You know what I mean? I've even met some people from El DF that had Afro features, to be truthful with you. But my ex-mother-in-law looks like a werewolf. Oh, that's good. She birth certified passport. Look him up, Jews. Yeah, I know about the Jews in El Salvador. Like my dad told me when he was growing up, there was a famous store in El Salvador called Schwartz, and it was owned by a Jewish family. And then Monica Lewinsky. People don't know that Monica Lewinsky was her father was a Salvadorian Jewish doctor. A lot of people don't know that. I think he was Polish. Look at the famous news reporter from Mexico, Jacobo Zabludowski. He was Polish. He was a Polish Jew. If you grew up Mexicano, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Jacobo Zabludowski. He died a couple years ago. You know, but I'm not. You know, the best thing to do is get rid of culture and focus on human family, like our ancestors did. Yeah, man. But I'm just saying, like the culture I grew up. I grew up in a what you would call a Mexican Chicano raza culture. That's the best I could describe it. With obviously the Catholic in it. You know what I mean? And that's the way I grew up. You feel me? And that's how I identify. And I know some people don't like it when I don't identify as straight indigenous because I feel that that's not fair. You know what I mean? Because I didn't grow up straight indigenous. I look at it more like I grew up with indigenous influences, for sure. And that the indigenous part is part of me. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that I'm pro-Spain, that I'm an Hispanista. And there is a movement out there called the Hispano movement. Look it up. It's out there. You know what I mean? And they say some things that I agree with, but then they say some shit that's off the wall. Well, we talking ethnicity or race? Kind of both. You know what I mean? Both, really. And Leon makes, maybe that's why I have an afro. Raza involves Asian, Africans, Americans, everywhere. Well, there is Asian and African in us for sure. You know, but there is European in us. And the thing is, I'm saying, if there is European in us, whether it's Spanish, Italian, or whatnot, is that a bad thing? That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Is it bad to be a mestizo or to be mixed? You know, Bisons aren't really proud of their native roots. That is true. But the reason that is because in Mexico, to be Indian or to be native is dirty. And that comes from the colonization. You know what I mean? I mean, let's face it, bro. In Mexico, one of the biggest insults, Indio. That's what they call you. Even in Colombia. When I was in Colombia or in El Salvador, you know, one of the worst things you could be is an Indio. You know what I mean? Or possibly a Negro. You know, those are the two worst of the worst. And look at Univision. Look at the media of Latin America. It shows mostly white-looking people of that country, as opposed to showing mestizos or indigenous or blacks. You know what I mean? And when we talk about blacks, and I'll talk about that. Maybe Black History Month. We'll talk about black people in Latin America. people get the game twisted. People think that there's only black people in the United States, when in reality, there's hella black people in Latin America. That's the thing that people don't realize. You know what I mean? There's hella black people in Colombia, and the Dominican Republic, and Honduras, and Nicaragua, and Venezuela, and Brazil, even in Uruguay, even in Mexico. Imagine, hey, people have said that I look like a Mexican E40. What's up, equalization? This Jose, the Mexican E40. What is it? People have told me I look like a Mexican E40. I've been told that quite a few times because of my glasses. I guess because I'm chunky. Do I look like that, fool? What's up? This is the Jose E40. I got my marbles. I'm gonna make my marbles straight from Vallejo. But nah. But yeah, man, my last name is Snyder. Too short. Nah, too short's a skinny ass nigga. What is it? I'm El Salvadorian. I'm El Salvadorian. Many call black proyectos mestizos. Un poquito. So, hey, so I'm gonna leave it to you guys right now. I've talked about this subject for damn a half an hour already. So, yeah, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to be indigenous? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean to be indigenous to you? Do you consider yourself indigenous? Do you identify as an indigenous person? Do you see? Do you even care about indigenous? What do you see yourself as? And this is if you're black, not black. This is if you're Mexican, Chicano, or Raza, or of any Latino country. What do you see yourself as? Me personally, I could. So what else? Javier, I think his name, said he considered himself indigenous racially, but not ethnically. To be indigenous, to throw the culture away and focus on what the human family needs. To be in what is it? To be indigenous is to throw the culture away and focus on what the human family needs. I get you. Okay, I get it. I get what you mean. They're hating on the live feeds. Press the like button if you're on here. I consider myself Mexican. Choloani thinks it's him. Choloani, that's the trans Aztec. He's a trans Aztec, just like he self-identifies as a Aztec Chichimeca. To me, indigenous are my people. Press that like button if you got to join it in. But yeah, they keep hating on my live feed. But this is the way I self-identify. The way I look. No one left, we all mix somehow. I identify myself basically as a mixed person, as a mestizo to some degree, but with a strong indigenous background as well. You know what I mean? That's how I identify myself as. I'm a Chicano from Oakland. That's my culture, Bay Area culture, and the culture. Like, I consider myself basically a Chicano, Mexicano, Salvadorian who grew up in the Bay, who gravitated from culture that came from Latin America and the culture I grew up with. Man, YouTube is just acting like a straight hater today. They just keep straight up hating on my feed. I don't know why. But like I said, that's what I identify myself as. I guess you could say I would be mixed or a mestizo or whatever. You know what I mean? I come from the indigenous people, and I probably come from the European people as well. You know what I mean? Maybe I come from the black people as well. You feel me? But I consider myself a Chicano, Mexicano, Salvadorian from the Bay, and that's it, bro. I'm not trying to be super Aztec. I'm not trying to be super Spaniard. I'm not trying to be none of those things. I'm just myself. I rep for who I am, and that's it. That's it. You feel me? Yeah, El Salvador means a savior, even though no one has ever been saved in El Salvador. You know what I mean? But, like, I don't go, like, to indigenous circles and try to seek their validation or try to do the most. I don't do that. You know what I mean? I respect what they're doing. And if they respect me back, hey, it's all good. You feel me? Because I've said it a lot of times. We're too Spanish for the indigenous, and we're too indigenous for the Spanish. So in a way, we're kind of caught in the middle. You feel me? And like I said, today's topic was inspired by Gunner's Collective, believe it or not. He made a pretty dope video a pretty cool video about Native Americans in prison, and in a way that inspired this video. He said, "They don't come from us; we come from them," and that really triggered me to do this video today. I was like, "That's true," because that's how I feel. I come from them; they don't come from me. You know what I mean? Exactly. I'm a Chicano. That's my identity. Chicano Lifter says I consider myself more European than Native. Okay. Hey, I'm not knocking anyone if they do. You feel me? Like I said, if I do have European, which I probably do, I'm not knocking it either. It is what it is. That's part of me as well. Just like the Indigenous is part of me. Lost you for 1 minute on YouTube. But yeah, just topics that we don't talk about, you know what I mean? And there are countries that still have a strong indigenous flavor to them, like Guatemala, Bolivia, Ecuador, Peru, the southern part of Mexico. They're very indigenous, you know what I mean? And they should be proud of what they are. I don't see anything of being ashamed, but I think there's a lot of mestizos and a lot of white looking Mexicanos, Mexicanos who are more European looking, and they push this like hardcore pro indigenous agenda. I'm like, really, bro? You're not indigenous. I look more indigenous than you. You feel me? And you don't see me pushing like the most, you know. Montezuma second, was it more? Was he? Well, I think Chicano Lifter told me that sadly us Chicanos is more European, indigenous due to the that's debatable. Um, but I think Chicano Lifter was the one that told me that a lot of the Moors were probably pushed off to Mexico. And he might have a point. Well, Moor, where that was the word they used for the North Africans and the Arabs who came to Spain during the invasion of the Moors in Spain, the Muslim invasion. So basically, to be a Moor meant you were a Muslim, and most of the Muslims that came to Spain were either from North Africa, possibly even West Africa, and then from the Arab countries. Jose makes us handsome. Yeah, man, we're la raza cósmica, like Jose Vasconcelos says. We're a product of a mixed race. He said we're European, we're indigenous, and we're black. And yeah, that's what makes us special. You know what I mean? We're the cosmic race. That's where the word la raza came from. That's how we started using the word la raza to identify our people. You know what I mean? I kind of get the small height from the Aztecs. I mean, Spaniards are short too. Not all Spaniards are tall. Trust me. I've met some Spaniards, and they're pretty short-statured people as well. You know what I mean? I will send you an article on the Moors in Mesoamerica. I'm down to read it. But yeah, but how do you get in touch with your indigenous side when the generations like colonization? I don't know, bro. What I've been told by the Chicanos and Raza that identify as indigenous, they told me that they consider themselves reconnecting indigenous. And what they normally basically do is they go to indigenous circles. They'll go to like a sweat lodge of a Native American, or they'll go to a powwow, or they'll go to a danzante group, or they'll just straight up go to Latin America to like a place where there's nothing but indigenous people, like in Guatemala or Chiapas, and embrace that culture. At least that's what I've been told. You know what I mean? What were you saying about the word raza and the cosmos? Oh, the Jose Vasconcelos. He was a dude who wrote a book called La Raza Cósmica in Mexico, and he basically meant that Mexicans, we were the cosmic race because we were all in one. We were black, we were Spanish, we were um, indigenous, all in one. So it made us a cosmic race. We were kind of like a product of all the colonialism brought to Mexico, basically. And that's basically what he meant by La Raza Cósmica. And that's kind of where the word La Raza kind of came from when they started using that during the Chicano movement and all that, to say La Raza, Nuestra Raza. Look up Arturo Castellanos. Who's that? I don't know if I've ever heard of him. But yeah, man. But yeah, I just this video was like this live was actually inspired by Gunner, believe it or not. Go check out his video about Native Americans in the prisons. It's pretty interesting, bro. I haven't watched Gunner in a while, but that one right there was like, wow, uh that's a dope ass video, and it inspired this live, believe it or not. The Super Aztecs hate Vasconcelos. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. All the liberals and like those kind of. And this is another thing, man. This is kind of what kind of irritates me sometimes in the indigenous circles. Is it that the indigenous circles have let these super liberal, super leftist people kind of co-opt their spaces, and it's fucking annoying. It's really annoying, bro. It annoys me. I don't like that shit. What he say? Oh, he said basically he was talking about Native Americans in prison and how they ran and how a lot of Norteños growing up were Native Americans, and it is true. In Oakland, I knew a lot of homeboys, straight up Vato Locos, bro, who were Chicanos, Cholos, bro, and they were straight Native Americans, bro. They were Navajos, they were Cheyenne, they were Lakotas. You feel me? And they were straight up Vato Locos, bro, in Oakland. This is when I was growing up in Oakland, bro. I knew hella Native American homeboys, and that's kind of what Gunner was talking about. He was saying there was also a lot of Sureños who were Native Americans as well, and he's talking about American Indians or Native Americans from the United States, not the ones from Latin America. Um, and it was a good video. He said we come from them, they don't come from us, and that was interesting. I was like, huh, because he said basically we're a product from them, but basically because of colonization, the Catholic Church, and all those things, we kind of became something different a little bit, and it's kind of true, and it just seems like we run and hide from that a lot. And should we be doing that? Should we really hate the other side of the indigenous? I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm not big enough the Catholic Church. I'm not big enough the Spaniards or the Europeans. I'm just saying, should we hate that side? That's all I'm saying. You know. But yeah, man, 45 minutes talking about this topic. I'm done. You know what I mean? Let's leave it at that. Let's freestyle it, man. What do you guys want to throw down there? How you guys been? Leave me any comments, anything you want me to talk about. I've been lagging on the video department, man. Oh yeah, the friendship off. I've been there hella times, bro. I've been to a few native Aztec and native things there, bro. You know what I mean? That's a dope place. Well, a lot of people don't know that Oakland. The reason why there's a lot of Native Americans in Oakland was because in the 1950s, Oakland was part of the relocation thing, where they brought a lot of natives from the Southwest and from the Dakotas and all that. They brought them into Oakland. It was called the relocation program. So a lot of those people were brought to the town. That's why Oakland had a big Native American population, and you had the Native American Health Center, the Friendship House, and all that good stuff. You feel me? But there's always been a Native American kind of influence in Oakland. And I should know, I grew up with hella natives. I knew hella natives growing up, bro. Like, a lot of homies from 36, 38, they were native homies. For some who don't really know the history, what's a good documentary to watch or podcast? Watch Raza Stan podcast. Just read anything about the Aztecs or about the history of the conquest of Mexico. There's a lot of stuff out there too on YouTube, bro. A lot of stuff. You think the violence comes from our Aztec side or the conquistador side? It's a good question. It's hard to say, bro. It's hard to say, bro. It's hard to say. Sometimes I wonder were the Aztecs really sacrificing people, or is that something that the Spanish made up? The Europeans made up. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know. Just like I think it's bullshit when the Super Aztecs say that mixed people are a consequence of rape. That's not true. I mean, to some degree, it probably is true, but at some point in time, that kind of didn't become true. You feel me? Violence comes from ignorance on behalf of both. Yeah, man. Yeah, a couple years ago, Oakland decriminalized psychedelics and mushrooms. Oh yeah, I remember that. They also decriminalized weed. They were one of the first, you know. But yeah, man. So that was probably all I wanted to talk about on that issue. Like I said, I'm half Salvadoran, half Mexican, so I got Central America and Mexico in me. Feel me? And Mexico is North America, whether people want to accept it or not. It is what it is, you know. But hey, so yeah, man. So how's everybody been? How was your weekend? How are you doing? What's the homicide? I don't know. What is the homicide rate? I haven't watched anything on the homicide rate recently. I've just been busy, bro. I've been lacking on the video making department. I know I've been wanting to make a video about Mexican Mike, and I've been wanting to make a couple other videos, and I just been lagging. Us as militant fuck, we always form gangs, a lot of structure and hierarchy. Yeah, we are a militant people, but you got to remember, you got to remember, Mexico was in a war for like 100 years. You know what I mean? After the independence in 1910, Mexico was like at war all the way to the Mexican Revolution, and they're still at war with the drug cartels. You know, so it's we come from a people that they have a very warrior fighting background. Where is America? Iceland, Easter Island. Iceland, interesting. I know that Greenland has a lot of Inuits. Do you know anything about R? What do you mean R? Who's R? There are Native Americans in San Francisco. They were Norteños and Sudanos. They're like us. Yeah, man. Like I said, I grew up around a lot of Native homies, bro, and they acted like Chicanos, bro. A lot of them. You feel me? You would not even think they were Native. You would just assume they were Chicanos the way they dress and the way they conducted themselves. You wouldn't know they were Native until they told you they were Native. Sometimes. You feel me? But yeah, I knew a lot of Native homies though. I even knew a few California Native homies. Look at the way the cartels eliminate people, very brutal. Yeah, man. I really think the whole cartel thing. I think I don't know. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think a lot of those cartels were trained by the CIA, bro. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but hey, Latin America the CIA did a lot of fucked up shit in El Salvador, Honduras. You know what I mean? I'm indigenous, and I know as indigenous, I'm from East Oakland, just feel lives matter. Why is Rasa not ready to give up those things that are oppressing them? Like what? Yes, they were ex-military. Yeah, man. Yeah, a lot, and the militaries of those countries are trained by the CIA, bro. That's a fact. The cartel brutality is Aztec and the structure is European. That's debatable. But sometimes I wonder if it's true that the Aztecs were really lynching. Somebody said, I think the U.S. controls Mexico. They probably do. You know what I mean? They control a lot of Latin America. I mean, look at Colombia, El Salvador, um, Honduras, Guatemala, just to name a few. You feel me? And the CIA did fucked up shit in those places that we don't want to talk about. We talk about all these immigrants, but we never talk about why they're here and the shit that we've done, that the United States has done. When I say we, because I guess I'm a product of the United States, what this country has done to them. You feel me? But at the same time, like, all right, let me ask you guys a question. What do you think about the super Aztecs? Like the people that are mestizos or white looking, or like Choloani, but they're super fucking Aztecs. They're like, oh, I'm Aztec, and fuck anybody that's Spaniard, fuck anyone that's against anything. What do you think of those folks? I mean, I know some of them, bro, and I'm cool with a few people like that, but they kind of annoy me at times, and I ain't gonna lie, they kind of do. You feel me? And I don't dislike any of the like danzantes and stuff like that. I love all that stuff. I love when they have Aztec dancers and danzantes and all that stuff. But some of the people are pretty. Some of the people in those groups can be fucking annoying at times. It's cringe. They're ashamed of Mexican culture. Somebody say, what exactly are super Aztecs? Super Aztecs are like people that grew up straight up Mexican, like you and me. But so again, super Aztecs are like people that grew up like you and me, straight Mexican, you know what I mean? Chicano. And a lot of times they don't even look Aztec or indigenous, but then they're very liberal. Yes, they tend to be very liberal. And just one day they're like super Aztecs with a feather in their head, and they're just like, you know what I mean? They're just, you know, one day they're just super Aztecs, and they're like, screw Mexico and screw everything else, screw the Catholic Church, even though I personally don't care about the Catholic Church. You know what I mean? And I don't know. They can be annoying. That's all I can tell you. I'm cool with some of them. Some of them people are cool folks with me, but some of them can be a little too much even for me. You know what I mean? And they can be weirdos at times. But hey, I don't dislike them. You know what I mean? I don't. I understand. Everybody wants to search for identity, so I get it. Just like the Hispanic people, there's, like I said, there's a movement called Hispanistas, Hispano movement. They're, to me, they're just another version of the super Aztecs. They're people that don't know nothing about Spain, didn't grow up there, never been there, never even seen a real indigenous person, a real Spanish person, and all of a sudden they're super Spaniards all of a sudden. They're fucking Hernan Cortez's son. Same shit, bro. It's just, they're the opposites of the same thing almost. Not only from Mexico's Aztecs, there are other indigenous communities, their own identities and cultures and language. Wow. White Chicans, but their Aztecs gets me. Real indigenous people tend to hide their roots while less indigenous ones embrace 3% Aztec blood. Thank you for your time. Buenas noches. Órale, Armando, be safe. Jesus was a Jew, the Jews went against him, and today Jews rejected our Lord. It's a nightmare. Do you meditate or astral? I meditate sometimes, bro. I haven't meditated in a while, but I do meditate. But it's more like Buddhist meditation. Liberalism makes me. Hey, bro, and I'm a liberal myself, bro, but I'm just not one of those annoying liberals. I'm more like an old school liberal. Like, I believe there should be health care. I believe that people should have basic human rights. I believe there should be basic civil rights. You know what I mean? I have no problem if gay people get married. I have no problem if women have rights. I have no problem with a lot of things, bro. But some of the other weirdo, dumb, fucking moronic bullshit that comes out of the left sometimes, or from liberals, gets on my fucking nerves. You know, and that's just, I'm just gonna leave it at that. You feel me? But yeah, I would consider myself like an old school liberal, but I'm just not one of those annoying, I'm so woke. You know what I mean? Nah. Have I ever heard of King Herod? Yeah, Herodias, right? But isn't he the one that he was one of the kings of during the Roman Empire, right? Just like Pontius Pilate. That was during the time of Jesus, wasn't it? But yeah, man. Yeah, but like I said, I do meditate from time to time. I will never think. So said I will never think I'm a Spaniard asking because I'm Jalisco mixed with Michoacan. Yeah, like I don't really see myself as a Spaniard or anything like that. I'm just or an Aztec. I'm probably both. I just look at myself as a Chicano from the Bay. That's it, bro. That's all I'm gonna look at myself. I'm not gonna do the most to try to impress nobody. You feel me? I'm not trying to impress indigenous people. I'm not trying to impress Native American people. I'm not trying to impress Spanish people or European people. I'm just what it is. You feel me? I'm just a Chicano, Mexicano, Salvadorian, and that's what I grew up knowing. You feel me? Pupusas, tacos, corn. You feel me? And you know, corn came from the native people, so that is part of our. That is part of us. You know, we can't deny that. Let's not dig too deep. It confuses people. It does. You know, but sometimes you need that. You need to dig deep. And you need to fuck with people's heads from time to time. You feel me? It just is what it is. But yeah, man, so how's everybody been? Hopefully everybody's been doing good. You know. But you know, my family, my Mexican family, they came from a place called La Piedad, Michoacan. They came from that region, and that region is more by Guanajuato and Jalisco, kind of by La Barca, Jalisco, in that area, kind of. My Salvadorian side is from a place called cabañas in a place called Sinquera. And that was close to the Honduran border, close to Honduras. And according to my dad, he told me he had family on both sides, on the Salvadorian side and the Honduras side. And in the Michoacan family, my mom told me that there was family on the Guanajuato side and on the Michoacan side, because where my mom was from, there was a river called Rio Lempa. No, Rio Lempa's in El Salvador, my bad. Rio Lerma. And she told me on the other side of the Rio Lerma was Guanajuato, and on their side it was Michoacan. So she would tell me they would have families on both sides of the place. So, it is what it is. But yeah, well, my mom grew up in Tijuana, so I always heard my mom talking more about Tijuana than she did about Michoacan. Flour tortillas, I'm from the north. I consider Mexican a race. I consider us a cosmic race. La raza cósmica. That's what we are. But, yeah, man. So how's everything been out there, man? I haven't even been keeping track on the news. Anything crazy happened in the Bay Area I'm supposed to know about? Because I really haven't been keeping up on it. I've been a little busy. I was busy most of the weekend, so I really haven't been paying attention. But I'm gonna make some spills coming up. I'm gonna make some new videos. I know I've been saying, you know what I mean? I'm fried bread and tortilla. Hey, I love fried bread. Took my cousins from Washington around the Bay. Oh yeah, how they like it? Gas prices. Oh yeah, gas prices are fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? We need some stimulus checks. Amen. Yeah, around here. It's like damn near $5. I put gas at Safeway, and it was $4.09. That was the cheapest I've been able to find it. The living doesn't belong to the Jews, it belongs to Christ. But yeah, gas prices have been ridiculous, bro. Hey, but has anybody ever tried fried bread tacos? They're pretty good. I don't know what part of the United States fried bread comes from, but I know it's pretty damn good. I like the little tostadas they make with vegetables and meat. That shit's hella good. Where was the capital of Palestine, and where the leaders king? Look, the Bible, Google it. Refer to Palestine. Well, I know the Semitic people are not just Jews; they're Jews and Arabs. That's what I've been told. But to the Indigenous people, Street 3014 to the Street, East Oakland, Indigenous Pride. Yeah, man. But yeah, man, it's almost that time for me to go. I've been on here for about an hour. I'm getting kind of sleepy. Can you tell me some history of Eastmont Mall? I live near there. The Eastmont Mall. Okay. I'm going to blow your mind if you don't know no history. Before the Eastmont Mall was there, it was a Chevy car factory. I swear to God, they used to build Chevrolet cars there. And it was there from the 1920s all the way to about 1960. And it was a big-ass plant. I have pictures of it, actually. So they used to build Chevy cars there. It was part of General Motors. And they tore it down in the 60s, closed it and shut it down. And then they built the Eastmont Mall. That's how the Eastmont Mall came about. I remember, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but I remember when the mall was a mall. When it had Mervyn's, Woolworths, JCPenney's. It had Safeway. It had a Thrifty's. It had a store called Consumers. I remember all my parents used to go there all the time. You feel me? I remember that. I remember when the mall was cracking, bro. They used to have Soul Beat. The old station used to be out of there. You feel me? So, yeah. Is that enough history? If you ever notice, Bancroft and 73rd, the reason why Bancroft is hella wide was because there used to be railroad tracks there. And that used to be a rail yard. And they used to bring the trains into the Chevy plant. That's why that street is wide. A lot of people don't know that. So yes, at one point, 73rd used to have railroad tracks, and I've seen pictures of it. Yeah, Soul Beat. That's hella old school. You gotta be old school Oakland to remember Soul Beat, though. Making fried bread, but Navajo tastes the best. Oh yeah, that's why they be calling them Navajo tacos, right? But yeah, man. I've heard this music that Native Americans play in Arizona, I think. It's called like chicken scratch music. And it's like, it sounds like corridos or like cumbia kind of. It's pretty dope. It's dope music. I've heard it before. They call it, look it up. It's called chicken scratch music. And it's from the border areas between Mexico and Arizona, I believe. Like, there's like these tribes over there that play that kind of music. It's pretty dope. If you guys never seen it before. They do like a cumbia round dance. It's pretty dope. But yeah, if you guys see it on there, they call it chicken scratch music. Lila Tom, Shalom, brothers, sisters, good history, Big G, Mexican E40. Now you guys are going to call me the Mexican E40. What's good, MacArthur Productions? Nopales. Nopales are definitely indigenous, bro. Tengo un nopal en la frente. You feel me? I actually ate some nopales on Friday. There was a restaurant. I bought carne asada. It came with nopales and onions. It was pretty good. No, it wasn't carne asada. It was grilled chicken. It was hella good. Muslim bakery in Eastmont. Oh yeah, but I remember also the Orange Julius that used to be in the Eastmont, and King Norman's, the toy store. Do a Fruitvale history of indigenous people. Yeah, well, I'm gonna do one about indigenous history of Oakland. You know the real people of Oakland were the Ohlone people. That was the native tribe in Oakland. You know. But like I was saying, what do you consider yourself? You consider yourself Mexicano, Chicano? Do you consider yourself a super Aztec? Do you consider yourself Spanish? Do you consider yourself European, indigenous? What do you consider? Mixed, mestizo, Arroyo Viejo Park? Nopal is good for fiber, weight loss, blood flow. I've heard. Yeah, man. I've been to Arroyo Viejo Park. That park is ghetto, though. I ain't gonna lie. It's kind of hood there. I consider myself a decent gentleman. I consider myself part of the human race. How about that, motherfuckers? But from the Bay Area, a mixed race Mexican American, a Californio. That's right, we're Californios. You feel me? Even though my family came here after the Californios, but fuck it. Hey, a lot of people don't realize that the Californios were also in Baja California. Native school in Oakland. Oh yeah, the native school in Oakland, yeah. I think I'm Middle Eastern mixed with Aztec. You might be, brother. You might be part Moor and part Azteca. You feel me? I don't think I'm Aztec, but I might have it. I think I'm more or less Purepecha because basically because my family's from Michoacan. You know, the Tarasco, Purepecha, whatever you want to call them. If I do have that indigenous blood, it's most likely from that. You feel me? All right, y'all. I'm about to get off, man. Do y'all remember Soul Beat? Yeah, I just said that. I remember when Soul Beat was at the mall. Hell yeah. That's old school. That's back in the days. Have you done a 23? No, I haven't done one. I want to do one, though. My nephew did. I consider myself Chicano, even though I'm mixed. I look like a white boy. You look like a white boy? Like a gringo? Hey, bro, so you look like a white boy. That means you have to be super Aztec, bro. You have to be a super Azteca, because the ones that look like white boys are usually the super Aztecs. Good night, y'all. Be safe. Good night, Mike Wallace. You know what I mean? But yeah, bro. So look, I'm about to get off, man. Peace and love to you guys, man. Whether you're Aztec, whether you're super Aztec, whether you're indigenous, part of La Raza Cosmica, whether you're a Chicano, whether you're Spanish, Hispanista, whether you're African American, Black, Moor, you know what I mean? Asian, Chinese, whatever you are out there, man, just be safe. Keep it peaceful, man. And just remember, we're all the human race. That's what we are. I'm Jose, that Chicano from Eastside Oakland, from the Bay Area. You feel me? The 510. And I'll see you guys next weekend. Take care. Late.